Hello and welcome to Academy X.
Hello everyone, my name is Geraldo. Welcome to Academy X. I'll get started with Karikia. Just let me one more second. Yep. Ko te kawa o runga, ko te kawa o aro, ko te kawa ora, e rongo whakarikirihia ki runga, turuturu o whiti whakamawa kia tina, hoie tai kie. All right, so welcome to Academy X. Today, we have talking about Program Spotlight's Tech Futures Program and the Change Organizational Resilience. We're also going to discuss a couple of the incredible projects make an impact, and also, of course, a couple of Q&A, common questions we have, and how to get started. Please feel free to put any questions that you may have as well into the chat. You're more than welcome. And I would like to introduce Haley Sparks, who is our Director of Academic Quality. Please introduce yourself, actually, Haley, and tell us a little bit about the Academy X environment. Go on, please.
Thanks, Geraldo. Kia ora, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us in this lunchtime to hear a little bit more about the programs that we deliver here at Academy X. So as Geraldo said, my name is Haley. I am the Director of Academic Quality here at Academy X, which essentially means that I work with all of our program teams, including the Master of Technological Futures and Master of Change and Organisational Resilience teams, as well as our micro-credentials and other programs to make sure and to support the delivery of these programs in a way that is aligned to what is approved, but also most importantly, what provides the best possible learner experience. So I have a background in education, PhD in geography from the University of Auckland, and then have been here at Academy X for the last 8.5 years. So have seen the cycles of these programs right through from the very first cohort of the Master of Technological Futures, and the next cohort will be cohort number 31. And then the Master of Change and Organisational Resilience, I actually wrote the program from scratch and got approved by NZQA. So have seen that from cohort 1 all the way up to, I think we're up to 12. The next intake will be 12. So hundreds of graduates from both programs and hundreds of current students enjoying their learning experience. So if we go to the next slide, which is a little bit about what does teaching and learning look like at Academy X. So we have a set of values called Te Ara Kotahi, which is Ako, Manaki, Pono, and Rangatiratanga, and they guide and shape the way in which we do everything here at Academy X, but particularly teaching and learning. So one of the things, I guess, that makes a master's program like this unique and is connected to the type of learners that enroll in programs like this is that the teaching and learning is very reciprocal, and that happens in lots of different ways between the industry experts and whether they're based in academia or based in industry that facilitate the sessions, or learning from your peers within the cohort, learning from each other is a big part of how these programs work, and the value that comes from these programs. So it's not like a lecture, think back to university days, you go and sit in a lecture for an hour and be talked at. Our classes, sessions are very interactive, discussion-based, and really draw on all of the amazing experience that all of the learners bring, as well as the facilitator of the session. Students sit at the heart of everything that we do. So the image you can see on the slide there, the koro in the middle represents the learner, and sits at the center. So we always are looking for ways to make sure that these programs are delivered with the best possible student experience in place. And that goes through from facilitation to student support to assessment, all parts of it, advising. And assessment, as the Director of Academic Quality, assessment obviously is a significant part of why these programs are accredited by the New Zealand Qualifications Authority. And so they are a big part of the program. But we like to talk about assessment as a learning activity. So you don't get a grade, you're not going to get an A, a B, a C, a D. You're going to, the value of assessment comes from applying your learning, and it comes from the feedback that you get. So they're not big scary exams or essays or anything like that, but they're really about taking your learning, applying it, and then evidencing that against a task, but on topics that are of interest to you, and that you will find valuable both through the Masters, but also at the end of the Masters as well, because for most of our students, the Masters is actually just the beginning of the rest of their project, of the rest of their learning journey. And then making sure, of course, that everything we do is grounded in evidence, whether that's from pedagogy through to the topics that are delivered. And if we go to the next slide, which is a little bit about who our students are and who these programs are for. And it is probably one of the most commonly asked questions is this program the right fit for me? Is this program going to help me achieve my goals? And those two things are the most important thing for us when we are working with learners to identify a program that might help them to achieve their goals. So both of these programs are not discipline specific, they're not industry specific, they're not profession specific. So we have students in all of our cohorts from lots of different sectors, lots of different industries, lots of different organizations, from health to education to all of the areas that you can see there on this slide, plus a whole lot more. I always think when we do these sessions, we could fill an entire slide with the different industries, sectors, and professions that our students come from. And that diversity is what also is magic within the cohorts, because you get to interact and collaborate with people who have different experiences and have different ways of thinking about the world, different ways of approaching change, approaching technology, and you get to learn from each other, as I said before, as well as from the experts that come in. If I was to describe the key characteristics of students that are part of our master's programs, I would say some of the most common characteristics are students that are curious, students that have deep care, I think, and deep I guess, a desire to make change and to have a positive impact on whether it's the world, the country, their community, their organization, their household. People that can see things in the future and want to be prepared or want to be in on those kinds of conversations and don't want to be left behind. Students or people who want to learn in a different way and don't want to kind of I guess repeat a university experience. People that want to learn with like-minded individuals. The average age of our learners is 44 years old, and most students that come in will have at least 5, if not 10 years of experience, professional experience in their sector or in a wiggly squiggly career journey as well. That's okay, and that also brings some magic to all of the classes. So it's an easy but a hard question to answer about who are the programs for. But those are some of the kind of characteristics, I guess. So if you're sitting there thinking that sounds a bit like me, or I am interested in those things, then maybe one of these programs might be a good fit. So I think I'm going to continue. I promise I'm not going to talk for the entire time. We are going to switch over, but I will move into the Master of Technological Futures, which is the longest standing master's program here at Academy X. So it was approved in 2016 or 2017. And as I said earlier, 31 cohorts of learners since then have either gone through the program or are currently studying, with hundreds of graduates over the years embarking on this journey to explore technology and the impact that technology has on the world around us. So if we go to the next slide, I'll just briefly introduce you to somebody who's not here with us, but Claudio. Dr. Claudio is a new staff member here at Academy X. He is going to be the program lead for the Master of Technological Futures. He comes to us with a wealth of experience, not only in different technologies, but also practice-based research and a lot of systems thinking, spatial intelligence, digital innovation, and a very clever, intelligent, but also very practical, a practical man who is picking up the reins of this program, is going to take it forward. So for those starting the program in September, Claudio will be the program lead, and he hasn't quite started yet, or fully started yet. So he's working a little bit in the background, and then we'll be here all ready to go for the September intake. So the Master of Technological Futures, with a title like that, many envisage it a program that's solely focused on technology. And I won't say that that's not 100% true, but what I will say is it's not a technical program, in the sense that it's not an information technology program. It's not a coding computer science program, but it's a program where the aim is to unpack, discuss, explore, research the way in which emerging technologies, which at the moment there's a very big focus on AI, but AI is not the only emerging technology, and how technology impacts on systems, on people, on processes, on practices. And it's that impact piece that is the most important, and it's that futures thinking piece that is really where the program is grounded. And so how can technology be used in an interdisciplinary way? As I said before, this is not a discipline-specific program, and in an applied way, to be innovative, to be disruptive, to address complex challenges that might be shaping or you're facing within your work, or within broader society. So if you're sitting here thinking, really interested in technology, I'm not a very technical person, and I don't have a lot of experience in technology, that's okay, because you will learn along the way, and you don't have to be technical to do this program. In fact, most of our students don't have a technical background, and thrive because the focus of it is different. The program is a New Zealand Qualifications Authority accredited master's degree at level 9. You will have one-on-one industry and academic advisor support. So from part 2 of the program, every student works with an advisor who supports you on the research journey. The program is being deliberately designed for working professionals. So the vast majority of our students work full-time whilst they are studying, and we'll probably talk a little bit more about time later. But it is possible to do this program and be working full-time. You will complete a research project, and that is on a topic of your choice. And as I've said multiple times, benefit from subject matter expertise. The program can be completed in either 14 months or 18 months. 14 months is very fast and very full-time. Most domestic students will complete the program in 18 months. And then we'll talk a bit about delivery shortly. And the next intake starts in a month or so, on the 24th of September. So what does the program look like in practice? What are the commitments? What's the requirements? Both of our programs are, or all of our masters actually, are split into 3 phases or 3 parts. The first part here is all about discovery, 20 weeks of exploration. And you can see some of the topics or names of the courses there on the slide. Part 2 is all about planning. That's where you get to develop a research proposal. And then part 3 is about implementing that research proposal. You can see a couple of different options at the bottom of part 3. Don't worry too much about them. If anyone has any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat, but everybody will end up doing a full research project. In terms of classes, there is 1 hour it's called a cohort session for the Master of Technological Futures, and that's where a lot of discussion takes place. There's a lot of assessment, discussion, and support. There's a 2-hour content session each week online as well, and that's where a subject matter expert will come in and facilitate a workshop or a discussion. And then every 6 weeks, there is a full day for this program. They are on a Friday. And that's where a lot of more practical kind of hands-on learning will take place. And Claudio's got some amazing ideas for what that might look like using things like design thinking and studio type work to really make the most of that time that you're together in person here in Auckland in our office. So if we go to the next slide, which I think we've talked about a little bit around, so student projects. Here's a few examples of the types of projects that these students have completed. So you can see there anything from human-centered AI frameworks for teamwork through to digital transformation, process management, AI supporting stress management. These are just like a very few examples of the types of projects our students are doing. There is a big focus on AI at the moment in a lot of people's work. Doesn't mean it has to be like that. You don't have to do a project that has AI in it. But these projects have all resulted in tangible outputs that the students have taken back to their workplace or their community to support ongoing change and development in their practice. I think then the last slide for me around who is the Master of Technological Futures for, very similar to what I said before, but who might consider it if you're wanting to develop some entrepreneurial skills, think about the role of technology, or continue to think about the role of technology, and really just embracing change, embracing disruption that comes from different technologies. So all the way from business leaders through to engineers, technologists, learning and development, innovation, sustainability. As I said, many different industries, many different sectors. We've got students working in health, we've got students working in education, in communications, marketing, transport, logistics, utilities, law, medicine, all sorts of different professions, and lots of ability for diversity, both from a professional perspective, but also a geographical perspective, with both international and domestic learners joining in on the fun. So that's the Master of Technological Futures. I'm going to hand over to Hansine, who will talk through the Master of Change and Organisational Resilience, and then we'll come back for some questions at the end.
Yeah, thanks, Hayley. And a lot of the information is very similar for in terms of the technicalities, not subject matter, but the structure of the program and how it's put together. So I'm not going to go over those in the same level of detail as Hayley has. But kia ora, I'm Hansine. I'm definitely the program lead for the Master of Change and Organisational Resilience. And like Hayley, I've been in this organisation for a number of years and have worked in some different programs over the time, including digital and collaborative learning, leading change for good, Master of Teaching and Educational Leadership, forgot that for a second, and now heading up this Master of Change. And yeah, this program is really built off the back of Leading Change for Good and the Master of Tech Futures, and recognizes the human element and the ever-changing space of change, and something that is traditionally not really done well, and we're in a constant state of change, and so we get a lot of discussion topics around change fatigue and other things that sort of come in, and so it's really amped that this is really positioned in the now. And we really look at the impact of disruption and what that means for organizations, building resilience, building structure and change in a really positive way, and leading impactful change. So yeah, I've got a real passion for change and leadership and education and definitely disruption. So I bring a bit of all of that into this space as part of who I am. In terms of the program, next slide. Yep. Yeah, much of the same detail as what Hayley's already sort of mentioned. So obviously an accredited course, run over the same duration and sort of similar structure. It is also practice-based, or what we're attempting to do. Again, one of the masses of work that has been done in and around change and leadership. It's very, very well researched, and there's a huge body of work out there around these topics. So it's not necessarily about knowledge in that way, and lectures and building like a picture of what is already existing. But what we're trying to do is look at what is existing through a research lens, and bring in those things that have been in the past, but looking at the differences and what we can do in order to close the gap in terms of practice. So you'll hear the word pracademic quite a lot, and things and concepts like that, because it's really trying to tackle that practice-based issue that arises when we say, yep, we've got a great theory, we should try and roll this out, and it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Because we've got a lot of other things in context that we haven't really explored. So there's a lot of conversation and critical thinking, and it's not necessarily what you know, it's what's informing you. How are you evidencing what's informing you? How are you leading those discussions and showing your thinking and understanding in these concepts? So it's quite a different way of education, but it's something that I think is a really practical and really grounded way. It brings in and values experience from the cohort that come in. So we interview every single candidate across who comes into the program, and we're looking to ensure that it is a good fit, that everyone is prepared to come in and share some of what they know, because an experience point of change and leading change in different contexts is really, really important to the overall understanding of the area and how we might grow and move forward. So we always try and connect to a base of knowledge that you already have, and then we'll look to extend and stretch you from there. And that's part of the process. So becoming uncomfortable, challenging yourself, unpacking why you know what you know and what you think and how you think, and all those sort of things will help lead to meaningful change. So in terms of the breakdown of what you'll do, and yeah, again, very similar to the Master of Tech Futures, we have our weekly sessions, and then approximately every 6 weeks we have our full day content, and that's really to grow those connections and really support your continuing assessment work. And as Hayley mentioned before, it's not a bar or hurdle to jump over. It's designed as assessment for learning, so that you will grow, and it'll help us to dive deeper into some of those real concepts that we really want to really nut out throughout the program. So it's really for anyone who really wants to lead change in your context. Already mentioned it's not traditional in terms of content delivery. It's really immersive and reflexive and applied to your context, and hearing about other contexts as well, and then kind of finding the sweet spot in between, and then you will focus your own ideas and through your own project, and become even more immersed in the area that really you are wanting to grow and learn in. It's just about disruption, and that's how it sort of brings, and we start. So we bring in disruptive and the impact of things such as technology, and that's ever growing and ever changing. So that's one constant we're going to always be grappling with, and the impact of that, the risk, the ethics, the outcomes on people. And so that's where it differs from MTF, is really focused on that people-centric ideal, and looking at thinking about the impact and how we might use what we know and use the technology to support and develop and understand what's happening for our people in our spaces and organisations and communities. So there's lots in there for everyone. It also helps you to kind of zoom out and see the bigger picture. A lot of systems thinking and systems change is brought through the conversation, so that we're grappling with not only the things that you've got locus of control in, but understanding the wider picture as well as we're going through. Once you move into part 2, you will start to scope your own project. This is guided by advisors, just like Hayley mentioned, for Master of Tech Futures, and they will sit with you for the rest of the course, so part 2 and part 3. And again, they're not necessarily subject matter experts in your field, but they support and make sure that research is really good research across disciplines, as again Hayley has mentioned. So we sit in the same sort of space and support and develop your critical thinking throughout the whole process. Once you've got your proposal, you also have a couple of other things to do, and you move into your research itself in part 3, and you undertake the research that you've sort of planned out. Again, there are some options for you to consider or talk to, but we work with you in part 2 in terms of what is the scope of your research and what is the best pathway to take for your research, and that includes the time that you might take. Throughout the program, we really try to provide a really supportive environment. We know that it's not easy to be highly reflective and to bring yourself into space, but we also know it's very impactful. So we do work really hard to ensure that we create a safe space for you to be able to share and to be able to have critical discussions in a way that that you can challenge others, and learn from throughout the whole process. We are about disruption in education. So whilst there are assessments, they are designed to be part of your ongoing learning and integrate a lot with what you do. There are definitely things that we have to output as part of this process, and there's rigor and academic exploration of what's been done in the past embedded, but equally your existing knowledge and understanding of environment sort of comes in as well. So you'll get a master's degree, but through the whole process, it's a really enriching journey where you get to grow personally and professionally throughout. So we'll go into the next slide. So a lot of projects, this is just the tip of the iceberg, and I think nearly every project is different, and it's a beautiful context to be in that sense, because everyone who comes into this program is coming here for a reason, and we really want to ensure that there are really good quality projects that's happening. So there's been a number of different I guess areas that this research has taken place in, and really it's up to you to scope as long as you can evidence those learning outcomes, and we've got a process to support that. But we've had systems change approaches, like so pretty big projects that have had other collaborations as well within them, but really tackling some challenging situations within really structured environments and big organizations. Looking at decolonization in spaces, we've had inclusive leadership and workplace setting projects. We've had a lot of education projects as well. Really kind of crosses over well. Those that then go beyond, traditional education, and lots of strategic frameworks and other things that have been explored. So really exciting space, and there's a space for everybody to explore and to understand, in more depth. So you can get something that you want to get out of it, and we encourage you to do so. So, Geraldo. So yeah, who can should consider pretty much anyone if you want to uh, make impact in your environment. If it's something that you are constantly frustrated by, if you want to grapple with how we might support people better in organizations, or how we might lead change in a way that is meaningful for the context that you're in, or if you see things that are consistently happening and you're really frustrated by them, it doesn't matter where you work or what field you work in. This degree can be applied in your context because you will do the research component and you'll become that expert in that space. And we support you to do that along the way. So there's a list of people. Hayley's talked about a list of people as well, but really, yeah, we feel that we can support all walks of life through this space, as long as you've had some sort of experience in leadership, either as a leader or a follower, equally. It's just that understanding of what change looks like, and what we might want to do differently as we go forward. So yeah, it's a bit about a Masters of Change and Organizational Resilience.
Bye. Thank you, Hansine. Thank you, Hayley. That's awesome. All right. So just bring us to a bit of a honest discussion as well, right? And why a master's and why now? So just have a couple of very common questions among many working professionals that I talk daily. What that learning experience really look like. So Haley did touch that at the very beginning, right? Because we are very community driven and we really have this to help each other, but also to bring, your own experience to the table, to have your own perspective on things, which helps a lot and how you learn as well. But I would ask, Brink, like, how do they connect the learning to real work? Because talking to learners when they get started, some of them do have like a challenge that they are facing in their workplace, but some of them are actually more passionate about something else, and then they kind of like go do their project with something else. So how do they connect that learning in real work? Haley or Hansine, please.
I think a lot of the sessions and how they're designed are brought in by people who are doing work in their spaces, and they're bringing in their expertise and understanding of an environment, or a process, or if we're looking at change or leadership or a disruption. And I think the beauty of that is that people can connect and have an open discussion about these concepts and understand, because we've got already a surface level at a minimum understanding of some of these things, but we haven't really understood them or looked at them deeply, because we haven't really had the need to, or the drive to, or the understanding that they're actually really important. So we find a lot of people, yeah, they come in with a set idea or understanding of what they want to get out of the program, but through the process of unpacking, unlearning, challenging themselves, critical thinking, they're coming out the other end going, actually, this is something else that I really want to apply this learning to. And we'll often get feedback that all the way through the course, that things that have been shared with them, the tips, the understandings, what they've explored, are actually really practical day in, day out. And so therefore, maybe the original idea is not something that actually needs addressing, but there's actually another component that they may wish to tackle, which becomes more meaningful for them at the time. So I think that translation of understanding the content through the discussion, and then seeing how that actually connects and applies to your context is a real strength of this program. Hopefully that answers your question, Geraldo.
It does. Thank you. And interesting as well, many of the working professionals that I talk, they are really like interested in learning, in applying and all that. But some of them, or many of them actually, do think, oh, I'm actually away from regular studies for 15, 20, 30 plus years. So in terms of the thinking and the confidence and the practice, right? How this program really support them in that sense? Like, if they're 20 plus years out of regular study, how they can be supported, and how the program really helps them to build that confidence.
I guess part of it comes from the way that these programs are delivered is not a traditional academic experience. So it's kind of a little bit of leaving that at the door, and bringing in your confidence in who you are, and what you do and what you already know and what you've already done, because those are the foundations. As Hansine said, we're building on those foundations in the specific area, whether it's leadership or technology or change or sustainability or whatever your focus area might end up being. It's about building on that experience. So bring that confidence of what you do know, what you have achieved and what you have done, to really kind of reinforce that. And as Hansine said, dive a little bit deeper, think about things differently, explore things with different people, collaborate with others, and, really pick a research project that you're passionate about, whether it is in your work or whether it is in the community or whether it's a mixture of both. Because when you've got something you're passionate about, that confidence comes as well. So there's lots of support around. So there's the program teams, but also the student support team, who are there to help. Oftentimes as well, people would think, oh, what if I get started and then something in my life changes or something happens and I can't keep going? We have lots of different ways that we can support, lots of different approaches that we can take, where I like to say we can push the boundaries of the rules and regulations as far as we can, to best support learners no matter what might be going on for them. So if you have a time where you're like, this is not the right time for this, there's too much going on in my life, and then you kind of, can't commit to everything, and we know that that's it's relatively common with the learners that we have. There's an ability for us to support in lots of different ways. So embrace the opportunity, I would say.
Yes, thank you, Haley. And that actually brings to a very common question we have. And I would say that's a good 8 out of 10 working professions that comes like, what about the workload? What about time commitment? I'm a father, I have kids, I have community, I have full-time work. How do I make this happen? Like, it's a master's in the end of the day. So can we please touch base a little bit on the workload and the time commitment side of things?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a really valid question. It's not easy doing a master's, and so it is a definite commitment to something on top of your already real busy lives. So we acknowledge that, but it's also the build of these programs are designed for working professionals who are parents, who are community active, and part of many different groups and have many different pressures on them. And like I said, it doesn't take away the fact that it's still a workload on top of what you would normally have. But our programs are also designed to be really flexible and open to negotiation in terms of what you study, how you study. Being a research degree, a lot of people who come into the programs are already in industry. It doesn't mean that you're disadvantaged if you're not, but if you are, you're often actively researching within that space anyway, topic areas that are similar, and we encourage you to think about those probably a little bit deeper or take them a little bit further. So there's a bit of crossover that comes in from the work and understanding side of things. But because it's a research degree and the way that the program is designed, we have the 2 hours or 3 hours a week of Zoom where you can connect to the sessions weekly. So that's quite a small amount of time, I guess, over a period of time, where we have that synchronous sort of connection. So you can Zoom in from wherever you are, so we're not asking you to travel or anything like that. And then on top of that, there'll be a bit of preparation that you'll do for that session that the presenters have asked us to share out. Sometimes there will be, sometimes there won't be. And then on top of that, there will be your own desktop research. And so you can you can adjust that as required as you're going through. For MCOR, there's a portfolio that you'll build over the first 20 weeks, and that will help you to think critically. And we bring in the reflexivity or concept of reflecting deeply on what you're exploring, but again with that crossover that helps with the time. So we suggest around 15 hours in part 1 and 2, and then 20 hours in part 3 for part-time. But that will be ebbs and flows, and definitely around assessment there's a little bit more, so pre-planning and managing your time as best as you can. But if anything crops up, like Hayley said, there's always support in from the team. We're here to help you. We have a process where you can apply for extensions really painlessly. I know it's really hard the very first time you do it because you're I don't like to, but we're here to support, and time is a barrier in our society, and so we want to work with you the best we can to make this to make the program work. And that flexibility and that choice of your interest areas and what you're exploring deeply and why you're doing that will lead to the value that you get out of the program. So yeah, the more you put in, the more you get out. But also, yeah, we understand that everyone's really busy, and this program has been designed. Both the programs have been designed for that in mind.
Bye, Hansine. Thank you. And that's interesting as well, because usually it's a very common concern, right, around the workload and time commitment. But as soon as many of our learners start, actually that is not the main, because they, kind of like prioritize things and then make it happen. But yeah, so it's very interesting. And interesting enough as well is how beautiful it is to see many of our learners getting started, because that's such an achievement for them to get started. And I feel that it is important as the graduation day. So yeah, so if you are definitely, still considering joining the masters, I'm more than welcome you to book a time with us, and then we can discuss that more. Specific case by cases. So that's good in terms of common questions, unless anyone has any other questions. Just a very quick one on how to get started, team. Very, very simple. So documents required to apply, it's just a copy of CV, past qualifications, and passport or birth certificate. The past qualifications, if applicable. Otherwise, we do have the equivalence criteria, which again, I welcome you to book a time with me, and then we can go through that process if, Bachelor Level 7 is not the case. But very, very straightforward. As Hansine mentioned as well, once you do submit the application, next step, it is the interview with faculty or program lead. And then, of course, this is to confirm your placement into the program. And then, of course, you'd have an offer letter issued, which does confirm your placement into the program. And yeah, that brings us to the end of the session for today. Hayley, Hansine, you'd like to say anything else just before I close with Karikia? Or if, Jeff, this, Matt, Brad, if you do have any questions as well, please feel free to turn your mic on and ask, or yeah.
It's just
No?
thank you from me
Yeah.
for joining and your interest in our programs, and hopefully you come along on our journey, because I think you'll get a lot out of it regardless of which way you go.
Bye. Thank you.
No, just from me. If you're sitting there kind of wondering, each case is unique. Everybody is a unique individual, and so we can have really, conversations about whether this is a good fit, because we want that to be the case. So if you are wondering, don't wonder alone. Reach out and ask Geraldo, and then if there's specific cases, he'll connect in with Hansine or I, or whoever else needs to be connected in, to make sure that it's a good fit. But hopefully we'll see some of you shortly.
Awesome. Thank you, Hayley. Thank you, Hansine, for your time today and for all who has joined us. I'll close out with Karikia. Ka whaka iria te tapu, kia weta ai te ara, kia turu ki whakataha ai, kia turu ki whakataha ai, hoie tai kie. Ka pai. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.